There comes a moment in every woman's life where strength must meet storm, where identity feels blurred, where emotions no longer obey, and where everything you thought you understood about yourself is thrown into a spinning, unrelenting wind. For Ruth Jones, that storm was menopause. And it didn't come quietly. The beloved Gavin and Stacey star, known for her humor, her warmth, her unforgettable screen presence, has revealed that this chapter of her life was not defined by scripts or spotlight. It was marked by tears, by mood swings, by transformation. A different kind of performance, one that played out behind closed doors, with no applause, no laughter track. Just raw emotion. Just Ruth. At 58, she stood before an audience at the Bath Literary Festival, not just as an actress, but as an author, a woman, and a warrior. She wasn't promoting a television series. She wasn't reading a comedic monologue. She was opening the most vulnerable pages of her own life while introducing her new novel By Your Side. And what she shared stopped everyone cold. She spoke of a change so violent, it shook her marriage. She spoke of mood swings so fierce, she began to feel like someone else entirely. Not the Ruth from Barry. Not the woman who brought us Nessa. Not the writer of warmth and wit. But someone unfamiliar. Someone lost inside her own skin. It made me a different person, she admitted. Just 6 words. But they rang like thunder. The audience listened, silent, stunned, leaning in as she peeled back the polished layers that fame often forces people to wear. This was not a celebrity tale. This was not tabloid fodder. This was the truth of a woman who had built a life, loved deeply, worked endlessly, and still found herself brought to her knees by a hormonal hurricane. The revelation came just days after Ruth confirmed something many had suspected, but few expected. Her 26-year marriage to producer David Peet was over. The man she met in the world of television. The man she built her life with. The man who had stood beside her through decades of triumph and turbulence. They'd been separated for 18 months. Now, they were legally apart. But it wasn't just the ending of a marriage that made this moment so emotionally arresting. It was the way Ruth wove her personal unraveling into a larger tapestry, a story shared by millions of women across the globe, often in silence. For too long, menopause has been spoken about in whispers. It's been dismissed as a phase. It's been cloaked in shame. But Ruth Jones refused to hide. She stood up and gave it a name. A face. A story. She didn't just survive it. She chose to speak through it. It wasn't easy. She described feelings she didn't recognize. Thoughts that frightened her. Moments where she couldn't trust her own reactions. The smile we all know from the screen didn't come as easily. The jokes didn't land the same. The light inside flickered. She tried to explain it to people. Sometimes they listened. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes she didn't have the words herself. But now, she does. And she's using them. Through By Your Side, her latest novel, Ruth channels themes of empathy, change, and emotional resilience. It's not just fiction, it's fragments of her truth, transformed into prose. Art imitating life in the most compassionate way. And while she has endured heartbreak, she has also found grace. Not just in surviving, but in evolving. Because that's what menopause really is, it's not an ending, but a redefinition. A reshaping of spirit. And for Ruth, it led her to confront her deepest vulnerabilities. It forced her to ask, who am I now? She's still answering that question. But she's doing it with clarity. With courage. And with a quiet kind of power. No longer hiding behind roles. No longer trying to hold everything together. She's letting it fall where it may. And from those pieces, she's building something new. She doesn't know what's next. But for the first time in a long time, she's okay with that. She speaks now for every woman who ever felt herself slipping during the change. For every marriage tested, for every sleepless night, for every tear cried in the dark without understanding why. She is their voice, their mirror, their beacon, and perhaps most importantly, she is her own once again. This is not a tragedy. It's not the sad fall of a star. It's the brave, blazing re-emergence of a woman reclaiming her narrative. Ruth Jones may have felt like a different person. But today, in all her honesty and fragility, she's more herself than she's ever been.